You are watching The Great Recap. The story begins in 1997, where a boy named Gene is seen in a car, always with his mother, father, and his older brother, Yusuf. We learn that all these people are moving into a new house. When they arrive, Gene finds the house familiar, even though he has never seen it before. He feels as if he has seen it in his past. Then we are told that Jin's brother, Yusuf, was always a topper in his class and graduated from a top university. He was also very good at sports, which made him very popular with girls. Yusuf did not use any kind of intoxicant. Chan, on the other hand, was an average kid and often had mental breakdowns requiring daily medication. Gene feels that in his troubled life, if there's anything he can be proud of, it's only his brother Yusuf. Yusuf broke his back in an accident a year ago, leaving him with a limp. Gene and Yusuf will have to live in the same room together, friends, because the landlord of the previous house hadn't yet vacated the small room where Yusuf was supposed to live. During dinner that night, Gene hears some noises coming from the small room upstairs, but his family denies ever hearing any such noises. Later that night, Gene hears a loud noise in the room again. He goes to investigate, but before he can go inside, his brother Yusuf gives him a rocking chair and Yusuf takes his younger brother out for a walk in the rain. The two brothers climb a small hill in Pazi, enjoying the weather, when suddenly, Yusuf gets a call from his father, and he calls Sijil. He has bullets, which forces him to leave Gene alone on the hill. While returning home, some criminals surround Yusuf and try to kidnap him. Yusuf gives a befitting reply. Gene, who witnesses the altercation, tries his best to save his brother, but the criminals succeed in taking Yusuf away. A frightened Gene returns home and, to overcome his mental stress, first tells his parents about the theft. Then, Gene has a dream in which someone is being interrogated roughly. Suddenly, Jin's eyes open and he finds himself next to his parents. In the next scene, Gene talks to a detective and tells them the kidnapper's phone number. However, the detective explains that such a number does not exist. Several days pass like this, but the family has no ransom payment. Tomorrow doesn't come. One day, Gene hears the same voice from the small room again, and she has a recurring dream about being questioned. Then, on the 19th day, Yusuf returns home safely. He reveals that he doesn't remember any events from the past 19 days. The doctor believes this is due to amnesia, and the only thing the family can do is to help him. Gene sees Yusuf leaving the house late. The next day, for some reason, he forgets to take his medicine. During breakfast, Gene asks Yusuf, "Where did you sneak out last night?" Yusuf denies going out. When Yusuf does go out, Gene feels a little awkward because Yusuf was limping on his right leg instead of on his left leg. Gene had thought about it at his study table, and taking advantage of this opportunity, Yusuf once again tries to go out. This time, Yusu makes sure Gene is fast asleep. Yusu pulls out a pencil strand near Jin's eye and doesn't stop until the pencil's LED falls down. After Yusu leaves, we learn Gene is awake and begins chasing his older brother in a taxi. He moves forward with a cigarette. Seeing him, he realizes that he is the same person who used to inquire about him at home earlier, and Yusu came from behind and knocked him unconscious. The next day, Gene is sitting on his study table. Seeing Yusu in bed, Gene is terrified. He quickly takes himself to the bathroom and lies down. Then, Yusu asks Gene, "Why did you take a nap?" Gene tells him everything about last night's big night. But Yusu tells him, "You've had a dream again." However, Gene insists, "I'm not sure. I'm in my senses and I know what I'm doing." When Yusuf refuses to answer, Gene quietly walks out of the bathroom with an aluminum pipe. However, Yusuf soon overpowers him and tries to calm him down. Yusuf tells him that nothing of the sort happened, from the pencil to the taxi. Then Yusuf asks Gene if he took his medicine yesterday. Hearing this, Gene calms down because he remembers that he didn't take his medicine yesterday. Gene is late and goes out again. After Yusuf leaves, Gene goes to his study table to study when he sees a broken pencil lead there. Gene is now convinced that Yusuf was talking to him. Gene again tells his mother, "Yes," but his mother tells him, "I must have talked to your father about this." "I will talk, but he joins us and we must collect more evidence. Although later he will be given the state's secret. Arjun overhears his mother talking to Yusuf in his bedroom. He realizes that this isn't his real family, and that they're only pretending to be his. Jean senses Jin's mother's presence outside. He then goes to Jin's room to check, but Jean manages to get back to his bed just in time. After his mother's death, Jean jumps out of the window and escapes, injuring Jin's mother. Jean then meets his fake father, and Jin's mother, in fear, also runs outside. When Jin's father tries to stop him, Jean tires him out and escapes. Jin's mother quickly sends thugs after him. Jean, however, manages to reach the police station and escapes from the thugs. Jean then informs the police of the entire incident, and they enter his name in the police database. He tells Jean that he was born in 1977 and is 41 years old. However, when Jean insists that he's not 41, but 21, a police officer asks him to tell him what year it is. Jean replies that it's 1997. However, the official reveals that it's 1997, not 2017. Surprised, Jean looks around and sees some boys holding mobile phones. His friends see a news program on TV showing South Korean President Jong-un and American President Donald Trump together. When Arjun looks at himself in the mirror, he realizes that he's actually 41 years old. Confused, Jean returns home to confront his fake family. At home, he hears the sound of a radio coming from the small room he's currently using in Crime Sim. A man pretending to be his brother appears before him, and Jean, the boy pretending to be his brother, tells him that he is standing in the room where a teenage girl and her mother were murdered 20 years ago. The police failed to apprehend the killer for years, and the case went cold. So the victim's family hired a fake Yusuf to find the killer. After a little investigation, the killer was identified as Jean. From here, the scene shifts to a flashback where Jean was kidnapped and brutally tortured to confess to the murder, but Jean maintains his innocence. Jin's fake father tells the investigation team that Jean has lost his memory because the incident was so traumatic. The investigation team asks psychiatrist Park to hypnotize Jean and return him to 1997. He may be sent to the Jinn. It's possible that his memory will return and he can tell what happened that day. Everything was going as planned, but that night, the Jinn witnessed Yusuf's execution. In fact, Yusuf was arrested for fraud and was missing for 19 days because he was in jail during that time. But then, after the 19 days were over, he was released on bail. It is then revealed that the voices he heard coming from the small room belonged to none other than the investigating officer who was working there. The story returns to the present. Yusuf is taking Jin to a place where he will have to pay the price for the deaths of 2 innocent animals. Jin has to maintain his innocence and jumps out anyway. Yusuf chases after him, but ultimately his car crashes into a tree. On the other side, Jin, also a stranger, hits him in a truck, which takes him back to 1997. The scene is shot from here, and we find ourselves in 1997 with his parents and his older brother, Yusuf. Suddenly, in a car accident, his parents die, and his older brother, Yusuf, is seriously injured. They were certainly in need of money for Yusuf's surgery, but the 1997 crisis was a very difficult time. Hardas, who is looking for a job, comes online and receives a message from an unknown person, promising to pay him a huge amount if he kills someone's wife. He is told that he must leave the children at home completely safe. After reaching home, his conscience does not allow him to commit this act. He is about to leave, but then the mother and daughter see him and start screaming loudly. Jean panics and, in a fit of rage, kills both mother and daughter. Just then, a small child comes out and, seeing Jean, lies down, but tells Jean to go back to his room. As Jean starts to leave the house, he discovers that this is the doctor's family. He was treating Jusa's brother, Yusuf, who was his brother's doctor in the past. Arjun tries to find out why the doctor wanted to kill his own family. He tells the doctor that a lack of money had led him to bankrupt the bank, and he had taken out numerous insurance policies in his wife's name to save his children from being homeless. Because Jean had killed not only his wife but also his daughter, the doctor tells him that Yusuf will now be considered his brother. A scuffle ensues between them, and Jean accidentally pushes the doctor off the cliff, killing him. Then the film returns to the present and Jin finds himself in a hospital where the boy Jin had been in the forest. The story he was carrying was that he had somehow been in an accident and he tries to poison Jin, but Jin tells him that his heaven has returned. Then the boy reveals that he is the same little boy whom Jin had abandoned 20 years ago after killing his mother and sister. After his parents' and sister's death, his relatives had taken all their money and left him in an orphanage to grow up a little. He asks Ujin, "Why didn't you kill him that day? I wish you had killed him that day. Then I wouldn't have to face this day." Jin asks Jin why his father planned the murders. Jin has to lie to people and take full responsibility on himself. But the boy doesn't believe him, and Jin realizes that he really did kill an innocent family, so he gives himself a shred of respect. He is late, which leads to his death. On the other hand, the boy has now discovered the true killer of his family, so he too commits suicide by jumping from the hospital window. The film ends here.